Chapter 10. Cryo-prison. Course to Blue Ice 6 set. Expected flight time a little more than 3 hours, Mia called from her pilot's couch. 100% power available, Kira said. Shields to auto, Kyra reported. Hatches locked and ship ready for a safe trip, Cal said. At least he had a good night's sleep, even though the others were still talking about hover scooters when he woke. Now, he was rereading the scant particulars of the job ahead. Blue Ice 6 was a sparsely settled planet in the Outer Arms, famous now for being the home of the first cryo-prison, built to house the worst criminals in the galaxy. Now a second prison had been built and some of the original inhabitants were to be moved to this new facility. The suspect bit was why this particular job had been put out to bid by normal freight ships, rather than the special Imperial transport vessels. The fee for the job was very high, and yet no other ships had accepted the job. 3 more hours and they would know the real reason why. In safe holding orbit around Blue Ice 6 and Cal still hadn't committed to the job. Extended scanners and check every vessel around, he said. The results were on the big main screen and everyone watched as Kyra focused on each target in turn. 1 big and slow freighter. 1 Imperial warship, but in the distance. 1 small planet-hopping runabout, and 2 unmarked vessels. Nothing should be unmarked with this system. They were accessing the Imperial database and that had details of every ship in the galaxy. Someone has found how to hide from the database, Kira said. We need to find out how they do that. Those unmarked ships are in a watching orbit, Mia said. See them both on synchronous orbit, either side of the prison I bet. You still want to try the job? I'll see if they let us come to get the full details, Cal said, calling the contact for the cryo-prison on his terminal. The captain of the Stallion asking permission to land and discuss the job involving 5 pods. Almost instantly he had permission and the landing codes that he transferred to Mia. 6 minutes. Preparing to land in 6 minutes, he said. This is the first time I've been to a prison, Kira said. At least we're only visitors, Cal said. For now, Mia muttered. A cold and bleak landing site, the whole pad surrounded by high walls. Only Mia with me to get the details, Cal said. We'd like to come too, Kyra said sweetly. I don't mind swapping with them, Mia said. I just don't like prisons, even as a visitor. But don't say too much, Cal said shaking his head a little. You're engineers, not monster chasers. No one on the landing pad to greet them. The only place that looked like an access point was a large and a small door with a lighted window between. Make for the small door, Cal said to the twins who'd taken the lead. At least their bright orange tops made it like they were an official party. The door opened as they came within a few paces and Cal could see the grid of dull metal bars ahead in the opening. Step inside and wait to be scanned. Through the doorway, the door closing behind them with a dull thud and them now standing in a metal cage but no one else visible. Step through the door. A door opened ahead into a brightly lit room, and as he followed the twins, it was into a nearly normal office. Directly ahead was a long counter stopping further access, and past the counter, 3 desks with men sitting in front of them. You want to find about the job, a man said, coming to stand opposite Cal over the counter. Your crew. My engineers, Cal said. Wanted to see what a prison was like. Cold. We keep our customers on ice. They're easier to look after that way and much less trouble. 5 pods, Cal said. 5 prisoners in cryopods. They'll just lie there and won't complain. Cal saw the grin. Load them up and transport them to our sister prison. Easy job. We'd get to see real criminals up close, Kira said. Even better than swamp monsters at the carnival, Kyra added. So why does no one want to do this job? Cal asked. Truth, the man said, looking Cal in the eyes. These 5 are all players in a space pirate crew, and their men want to capture these pods. Have others tried? Only 1. And? Cal said when the man hadn't continued. Returned the cargo before they got into orbit. Those two strange ships up there, Cal said. Why doesn't that Imperial warship fix the problem? Politics, the man said eventually. Maybe there might be informers around. If we took this job, will you give us permission to use evasive maneuvers? Maybe drop into ether drive lower than permitted. I certainly wouldn't report it. And the receiver? The same. I'm sure they would do the same. Can I get the personal terminal of the receiver to set the exact delivery time? Marcus. He's a good man. Trustworthy too. I'll get his details now. You in then. Start loading our cargo. You can brief my engineers on how to handle the pods while I brief my pilot and get her to choose a suitable course. Paperwork, the man said, and Cal had more than 15 minutes of official notices while the twins left for deeper in the complex with another guard. The girl seemed super excited at the prospect of seeing frozen criminals prepared for transport. At least Mia understood the papers, and she extracted the course details she needed. Maybe 2 or more hours ether space. It's through some not very well charted areas and I can see why no one else wanted to do it. I asked for permission to use some unconventional maneuvers, but while they agreed, nothing was put on paper. Trusting on shields. That includes level 4 and 5 as well as some formidable piloting. In the freight hold, Cal prepared 10 lashing straps to secure the pods when they came. He left the ramp down waiting, but there was no sign of any movement for ages. Finally, the pods came, one by one, the first 2 pushed by the twins who had them up the ramp smartly. Cal and the girls had the straps tight before the next pod arrived. The pods were shaped like glass-lidded coffins, one end of the cover a small screen and control panel. It tells you who they are and what they're in prison for, Kyra said, pointing to one screen. You can see the face through the ice, Kira said, peering into one pod. He nearly looks normal. This one looks like a real pirate, Kyra said. See that beard? Make sure those straps are tight, Cal said. No lids opening in flight. Sign here, the man pushing the last coffin pod said. They're your responsibility now. And that's why no one else wanted to do this job, Cal thought as he signed his life away. Ramp up and let's make this ship ready to fly. Everyone manning their stations, the thrusters warming up and the twins giving power readings. Shields on auto, Cal called. And watch those unmarked ships for trouble. Prepare for evasive movements if needed. I wish we had a plasma cannon to blast them, Kira said. Laser blasters too, Kyra said. We'll make do with good shields and the best pilot in the galaxy, Cal said. Time to move fast. Mia did make the ship move fast, the thrusters on overload from the beginning, the sea stallion rearing up into the air and the twins cheering. Ships moving, Mia called over the racket of the protesting thrusters. Both those unmarked ships moving toward our course, Kira said. Warship moving too, but it's following the other 2. Weapons track from one ship, Kira called. That closest ship's blasting us. Then the main viewport showed a shimmering metallic cast and the ship shook a little and the shimmering cast was gone and the view was as it had been before. Level 5 shield activation, Kira called out excitedly. It works. That other ship is trying to get behind us, Mia said. At least she was keeping her voice calm. We're far too low to go into ether space. Then the viewport covered over again and there was a strong thud against the top of the hull, and the window came clear again. I didn't see that one coming, Kira said. Turn to drive straight toward the closest, Cal said. Let the lasers obliterate them. Dangerous, Mia said. Great fun, Kyra said excitedly. One still behind us, Kira called. This time when the swirling cast covered the viewport, the blast came from the back, pushing the ship even faster. Look at the screen. Look at the screen, Kira yelled. We got it. Directly behind them was a billowing red and orange ball of flame. The level 5 shield had reflected the blaster directly back to its source and the pursuing ship had been hit by its own weapon. One more left, Kira said. Let's get it. Watching the screens, Cal saw the remaining unmarked ship still off to their left, but Mia was steering to get it directly ahead, although that ship was trying to prevent getting in Mia's path, as though it knew her plan. The two ships now in a large circle while the Imperial warship was still on the screen, but keeping a good distance. Suddenly Mia turned hard the opposite direction as if the ships were now tracing a figure 8 in the air. Maybe the other vessel thought Mia was stopping the chase, but she wasn't, and soon she was back behind the enemy vessel and making for it as fast as the thrusters would allow. Thrusters still at 130% boost, Kyra called. Shields at full power, Kira yelled. Get them. Mia had no intention of stopping, and then the room filled with the hum of the ether coils. She was getting ready to enter ether space, even though they were not yet in the proper orbit. Faster, faster, Kyra yelled as the enemy came closer in the front viewport. Cal was trying to identify the vessel, but the best he could work out was an old cruiser about the same size as them. Then the ion stream from the enemy thrusters was buffeting the Sea Stallion and the shaking was getting worse and then that vessel was flying to pieces in front of them, red laser streaks hosing the hull and the shredded pieces being pushed away by the field of their shields. Level 4 shield working perfectly. Ether space now, Mia said, and as smooth as if they were in completely clear space, the Sea Stallion was calmly flying out of this planetary system at millions times the speed of light. Both twins were cheering and maybe Cal joined them. That was living. That was captaining the ship like he always dreamed. That was a moment to remember. Mia was silent in her pilot couch as she needed all her presence to guide the ship through the sea of ether. Even the twins quieted as they monitored the shields and ether coil power. Cal tried to focus on the holomap showing their path, watching the systems of planets decrease in number as they entered the clear space between the arms of the galaxy. This far out there was a lot of empty space to cross. On the main screen, the extended scanner was showing no other ships in front, but Kira was manipulating the view, concentrating on what was behind them. Even from his chair at the back, Cal saw the red and gold icon of an Imperial ship in their wake. When Kira activated its details, it was the same one that had been observing them back at Blue Ice 6, and it definitely wasn't merely an observation ship. The number of lasers and plasma cannon it listed put it more into the warship category. A ship that could have easily done the job they were now doing. The slowdown in their path was evident in the speed of approach of the sun in front of them. Mia was being very careful. He felt that he could drive in thruster power this fast, but Mia was keeping them in ether drive as she checked the whole system while hidden from normal view. OE 1015 P3 was their destination. The third planet, and Cal watched that planet come into sharp focus on the map. Also on the map were two icons of ships already in orbit, neither having data. Two more pirate ships with no connection to the Imperial database. Quiet as Mia slowly adjusted their course to place them on the opposite side of that planet so the planet would shield them from the two watching ships, then she dropped out of ether space and they were in orbit and visible to everyone. Down toward the surface, Cal said, and I'll call our arrival. We should get those pirate ships first, Kira said. Like we did with the others, Kyra added. Part of me agrees, Mia said, and the twins cheered. If we don't get them now, they might go after us when we leave. They need to make the first move, and it needs to look like we were only defending ourselves. I'll call our contact from here. That'll start something. Cal called Marcus on his terminal and got an immediate reply. Been tracking your path. Only one landing place and there are two ships watching it. Leave this channel open and I'll send you updates. Our shields on full and we'll make a run to get there, Cal said, transferring the landing coords to Mia's screen. How long? 20 minutes direct, Mia said. One ship moving, Kira called. Shields at 100%. Pilot in full control of the ship, Cal said, watching Mia activating the thrusters, but at less than full power, as though she was waiting for a ship to come to her. Only those two ships in orbit and both them now moving to intercept us, Kira called out. Nothing else in range. Nothing to do but wait. Thrusters at 60%, Kyra said in a tone that really meant it should be more, but Cal knew Mia was just baiting those enemy ships. First ship should be visible now, Kira said, but Cal couldn't see anything in the main viewport. They're firing. That he did see. He'd imagined it be a super-fast streak of light, but this seemed painfully slow. A ball of multicolored light growing in size as it approached. Was that a plasma ball? Then the viewport did its thing and was covered with what seemed like liquid metal, and then the ship was buffeted a little like walking into a strong wind on the ground, and the viewport was clear again. Shields back to 100%, Kira called. Enemy ship firing again. The space between the two ships was less now and the delay was much less, this ball making more impact, but still nothing really. They're firing again. This time the impact time was only seconds, and this time Mia took the thruster power to overload and now there was no trouble seeing the enemy ship in the viewport. It was right in front and getting closer by every passing second. Shields on auto and 100%, Kira said loudly. There. They were surrounded with swirling metal and the ship juddered hard, and then the viewport was clear and there was nothing to be seen. They fired when we were so close, Kira said. The shields gave their own plasma back to them, Mia said. All systems working, Kira said. The terminal on Cal's arm said loud enough for all to hear, that ship's completely disintegrated, but another coming from the side. I've got it, Kira yelled. Shields all still good. Cal watched Mia study the main screen like she was trying to get inside that approaching ship captain's mind. Then she throttled down the thrusters and pointed the Stallion down as though preparing to land. He's trying to position behind us, Kira called. He's going to blast our rear. Cal smiled as he remembered. The large flat ramp at the rear of the ship made a perfect reflector if it was in the right angle, and tilted down a little put it in that angle. This was going to be easy. Laser cannon, Kira yelled. Too far away. They certainly knew they had been impacted, but that was all. The next shot the same. Two at once, Kira yelled, and the double impact did push their ship forward a little. All the time Mia was adjusting the angle of the ship. Another two. More impact this time, and Cal was wishing they had a viewport that way so they could watch. That Imperial warship just entered the screen, Kira said. Still in high orbit. Another impact to their rear. This time quite strong through the reflective shield, but Mia stopped trying to work on the reflection and turned the thrusters to maximum. Get them, Kira yelled, and the ship turned sharply and took off at full speed, getting a start on the pursuing ship and pointing to fly underneath them and turn to get behind them. It was there that the enemy made their mistake. They chose to send a blaster shot at the Stallion as it sped closely underneath them, and the shields did their thing and reflected that shot back to its source. That source was so close it couldn't miss, and by the time Mia had their ship turned so they could see the enemy ship there was nothing but a ball of flame to be seen. Great flying, Cal said. The best, Kira yelled. Screen's clear, Kira said, other than that warship. Is it moving toward us? Cal asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Stationary for now. Resuming course, Mia said. Landing in 7. Landing clearance, Marcus said in the terminal. We'll be waiting for you. And with that he terminated the call. You want us to help with the delivery? Kira asked. I'll stay on the ship, Mia said. I don't like criminals, even if they are frozen. Try not to say too much, Cal said toward the twins. I'll do the paperwork. An uneventful landing with people approaching while Cal lowered the freight ramp. A very exciting delivery, the lead man said when the ramp was down enough for Cal to see him. I'm Marcus. Cal, and my engineers Kira and Kira. We need to untie the pods first. Playing it safe. Never trusting the freight is the way to stay safe, Cal said. While there were enough men to handle the pods, the twins were racing to untie the lashing straps ready to help in the moving, leaving the straps piled on the back of the freight hold. Can we see them moved? Kira said. While he does the papers. We haven't seen bad criminals before, Kira added. Marcus looked to Cal and he nodded. I'll come with the important things. I've got a question for you, Cal began as him and Marcus walked behind the line of pods. Why did those ships want to blast us? Won't their men die too? Most likely not. These cryopods are really modified deep space rescue pods, built to survive a ship accident and keep the survivor alive, even through a shipwreck and planet crash. So they destroy our ship and then pick up their men and defrost them. That's it. Strange how the Imperial system protects their prisoners more than their people, Cal said. It was cheaper, we're told, but sometimes we all do think. And that warship that's been watching us and doing nothing, Cal said. And strange how those ships knew what cargo we had on board. And the Imperial transport ships that find reason not to arrive, Marcus said. Things we all think about. And us now, Cal said. We took out 4 ships. Either a medal or a trip back here. Neither, Cal said. My report will smooth things, I hope. It would certainly look bad for that warship with them not protecting a legal ship on an official job that was being attacked by bandits. Inside the main building and the twins nowhere in sight, Cal completed the paperwork and had the job signed off on his terminal, noting the original 50,000 fee had been changed to say 34,000, and then half that swiftly taken to the loan company. You paying off that ship? Marcus said as he caught sight of the figures. 19 more years. Unless I can do more high-paying jobs. Let's go and find your crew. They're the best, Cal said. I'd be nothing without them. I heard them over the terminal. Might use some of that in my report since it proves you were being shot at and you couldn't fire back. Skillful work by my pilot. She should be piloting a warship. Marcus was looking at Cal as he spoke, and Cal saw his face showing that he thought this ship was more than a normal freighter. When they found the twins, the girls were being shown the main prison hall, where the cryopods were lined up on their side. Line after line of them. Still space for 3,000 more, their guide said. That's a lot of trouble if they defrost, Cal said. We make sure that won't happen, the guide said, but Cal was not so sure. As soon as they got back in the ship, Mia was keen to move. I don't want to be here 1 minute more. Go, Cal said as the twins ran to man their posts. Home however you want. The Sea Stallion Book 1. Big Dreams but No Credits. A Space Adventure. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2023-2024 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Cover and text written and assembled by hand without use of artificial intelligence.